Welcome to the deep dive. Ready to explore Europe?
Absolutely.
We've got some incredible material to work with here.
We do.
This is going to be way more than just your typical travel guide stuff. We're going deep, unearthing the hidden gems of this amazing continent.
That's right. We're talking about weaving together the geography and history, the culture, the economy, and even some of the present-day challenges Europe faces.
It's a pretty big task.
It is. It is.
But I think we're up for it. So let's start with the basics, right? Beyond those picture-perfect images of charming villages and ancient ruins, what's the real deal with Europe geographically?
Well, first off, the geography is incredibly diverse.
Right.
Packed with contrasting landscapes.
I mean, you wouldn't expect to find all of this all in one place.
Yeah. You can go from sun-drenched beaches along the Mediterranean
Okay.
to the stark beauty of Scandinavian fjords.
Wow. Yeah. That's a dramatic shift, just like that.
It is.
It's amazing to think that you can experience such different environments, but, pretty close to each other?
Exactly. And that geographic variety has really shaped the course of European history and culture.
Makes sense.
For example, take the Alps.
The Alps, yeah.
They're not just a breathtaking backdrop for, like a musical.
Right.
This mountain range, it sprawls across so many countries, acting as both a natural border
Yeah.
and a bridge between different cultures.
Oh, that's interesting. Speaking of bridges, didn't we come across something about a river that flows through, a bunch of countries?
The Danube,
The Danube, yeah.
one of the longest rivers in Europe. And get this, it meanders through 10 different countries.
Yeah.
It's been a vital waterway for centuries. Trade, transportation,
Makes sense.
connecting people and cultures all along its bank.
Imagine all the stories it could tell.
Right.
Like all the historical events that happen right there on the river.
Absolutely.
That's pretty wild. One river connecting 10 countries. It makes you realize just how connected everything is over there historically.
Precisely. And when it comes to history, Europe's got a lot to unpack. I mean, we're talking about the birthplace of democracy, of philosophy. So many of the ideas we still live by today.
It's like Europe is kind of like the OG of Western civilization, right? I mean, ancient Greece, with its emphasis on reason and debate, it all feels both familiar and so distant at the same time.
Right. Think of those big names. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle.
Yeah,
Even if you've never, picked up a philosophy book in your life,
right.
you probably heard those names. You've definitely encountered their ideas,
For sure.
their influence on our governments, education systems, even our understanding of the world. I mean, it's undeniable.
It's crazy how these ancient ideas still hold so much weight today.
It really shows the lasting power of, human thought and how interconnected history really is.
Yeah.
But of course, ancient Greece wasn't the only major player in shaping European civilization. The Roman Empire, it left an indelible mark on the continent and the world.
Oh, yeah, the Romans, their empire was huge, right? I mean, it stretched across vast territories.
It was immense. And their influence, well, it's still visible today. From the languages we speak to the legal systems we use.
Oh, wow.
Take Latin, for example. It's the root of so many modern European languages.
Yeah.
French, Spanish, Italian, even English.
Yeah, and when I think about Rome, those incredible structures come to mind. The Colosseum,
Yeah.
aqueducts, roads that we still use today. I mean, that's a legacy that's hard to beat.
It is. It's proof of their engineering genius and their vision. The Romans, they were master builders and organizers.
Right.
And their innovations, they had a huge impact on Europe's development.
Makes sense.
But of course, the story of Europe, it didn't end with the Roman Empire. The Middle Ages brought about a whole new set of challenges and transformations.
The Middle Ages, knights, castles, and, well, a lot of drama, right? But to understand it, we need to grasp this whole feudalism thing. What was that all about?
Okay, imagine society structured like a pyramid. At the top, you've got the king.
Right.
Below him, you have powerful nobles who pledge loyalty to the king
Okay.
in exchange for land and protection. And those nobles, they grant land to knights,
Okay.
who in turn fight for them. And then at the very bottom of the pyramid, you have the peasants,
Peasants, yeah.
who work the land, provide food and resources for everyone above them.
So it was all about loyalty, obligation, and I guess knowing your place in the pecking order.
Yeah.
Seems so rigid compared to today.
Absolutely. Feudalism was the defining social and economic system of the Middle Ages, shaped everything from daily life to politics.
But it was a system that was vulnerable to disruption, right? And then along came the Black Death. That's
Yeah.
got to be one of the scariest chapters in human history. I can't even imagine.
It was a time of unimaginable suffering.
Yeah.
The plague swept across Europe in the 14th century. It wiped out an estimated third of the population.
Wow.
Entire villages decimated. The social and economic consequences were enormous.
A third of the population? That's hard to even grasp the impact of something like that.
It reshaped Europe in countless ways.
Yeah.
The labor shortage, it led to the decline of feudalism. Peasants, they gained more bargaining power.
Yeah.
And it prompted questions about religion, medicine, the very nature of human existence.
Right, right. And in the middle of all this turmoil, there were also the Crusades.
The Crusades,
This religiously fueled military campaigns pitting European Christians against Muslims in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
That's another complex, often controversial chapter in European history.
Absolutely. While the Crusades were fueled by religious fervor, they also had significant political and economic motivations.
Interesting.
And they exposed Europeans to new ideas, new technologies from the East,
Okay.
contributing to the cultural exchange that would eventually fuel the Renaissance.
Ah, the Renaissance. Now we're talking.
Correct.
After all that upheaval of the Middle Ages, this feels like a burst of creativity and innovation.
Think of it as a rebirth,
Okay.
a rediscovery of classical art, literature, philosophy.
Oh, I see.
Think about artists like Da Vinci, Michelangelo. Their work still captivate the world today.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about art, though, right? There was this renewed spirit of exploration, discovery. Explorers like Columbus setting sail to these uncharted territories.
Exactly. The Renaissance marked a shift from the religious dogma of the Middle Ages to a more humanist worldview,
Well,
one that emphasized human potential, the pursuit of knowledge.
right.
And that spirit of inquiry would lead Europe into a whole new era of scientific and technological advancement.
And that spirit of exploration and discovery ultimately led to the Industrial Revolution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a time of massive technological advancements, completely transforming societies, not only in Europe, but around the globe.
It was a game changer.
Yeah.
Think about it. The shift from like agrarian societies to industrialized ones,
Yeah.
the boom of factories,
Okay.
mass production of goods, the growth of cities.
It wasn't all smooth sailing, though, but it basically laid the groundwork for the world we live in today.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the modern world, we can't forget about the 20th century. I mean, 2 world wars,
Yeah.
political upheavals, ideological clashes. Europe saw some pretty dark times.
Some of the darkest chapters in human history, for sure.
It makes you realize that peace is fragile
Yeah,
and the cost of conflict is huge.
absolutely.
But it's also incredible how resilient humans can be. I mean, look at what happened after all that destruction.
Right.
Europe went on this path towards unity and cooperation, creating the European Union.
It's a huge undertaking
Yeah.
to bring together so many different countries,
Yeah.
so many cultures.
The EU, it's like this massive project that's, I don't know, almost like an experiment in unity
It is.
after like centuries of conflict and division.
Right. Imagine 27 countries,
Wow.
each with its own history, its own language, its own culture,
Yeah.
all coming together to form this political and economic union. The aim is to promote peace, stability, and prosperity across the continent.
Yeah. It's always been fascinating to me, this idea of like putting aside differences for the greater good.
It is.
And they even have their own currency, the euro.
Yeah, the euro.
It definitely simplifies travel.
It does.
Okay, maybe not always easy, but it's definitely simpler than like juggling a dozen different currencies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The euro, it's really a symbol of that European integration.
Right.
Simplifies trade, transactions, represents this commitment to shared economic goals.
It goes beyond just the money too, though.
Yeah.
It's about working together on like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Environmental protection,
Yeah.
human rights,
Yeah.
scientific research.
Absolutely.
It's this massive network of shared values and goals woven together through, like treaties and agreements. It's complex, no doubt, and there are definitely some challenges.
Of course. The EU, it has faced its fair share of criticism, particularly regarding bureaucracy and concerns about, national sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Brexit vote back in 2016, with the UK deciding to leave, it highlighted some of those tensions.
Yeah. Brexit definitely threw a curveball into the whole thing.
It did.
Makes you wonder about the future of the EU.
Yeah.
Can it withstand those pressures from within? But, let's change gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about what makes Europe so unique and vibrant? The culture.
Yeah.
It's not just like one big uniform thing, right? It's
Mhm.
more like a tapestry
Yeah.
made up of tons of threads.
Exactly. Europe, it's a continent of incredible cultural diversity. I mean, over 200 languages spoken.
It's 200.
Yeah. Each one is a window into a different way of life.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Like
Yeah.
all those stories, traditions, and perspectives represented by those languages.
Mm.
It really shows you that Europe is more than just like those famous landmarks. It's about people's everyday lives, their customs, the food they eat, the music, the stories. It's about the richness of human experience, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we obviously can't cover all 200 languages,
No.
but can we at least touch on some of the major ones?
Yeah, for sure. So you have English, French, German, Spanish, Russian.
Right.
These languages, they're spoken by millions across Europe.
Yeah.
And they've played a huge role in shaping European history and culture.
And each one has its own distinct feel, right? Like
Yeah.
French, I think
Well-
elegance, romance,
Yeah.
German. I get this sense of like precision and efficiency. It's like each language has its own like personality.
That's a great way to put it. And we can't forget about the smaller languages, often spoken by minority groups.
Yeah.
They really add to that linguistic tapestry.
Yeah.
Languages like Basque, in the region between Spain and France,
Okay.
or Gaelic, which is still spoken in parts of Ireland and Scotland.
These languages are like a link to the past,
Mhm.
a reminder of like the deep historical roots and the diversity in Europe.
And of course, religion has also played a big role in shaping the cultural landscape.
Right.
Christianity, in its various forms, has been the dominant religion for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's not the only one.
Right. We're seeing more of a presence of Islam, especially in Western Europe.
Yeah.
And there's the historical presence of Judaism, which has had its good times and really terrible periods of persecution. And it's
Yeah.
definitely a complicated story.
It is. It's important to recognize the role that religion has played and continues to play in European society.
Yeah.
It's interwoven with history, politics, cultural identity.
It's fascinating and challenging at the same time.
Absolutely.
And then we have all those fun and interesting traditions that make Europe unique. We're talking about everything from the beer-fueled Oktoberfest in Germany
Oh, yeah.
to the like crazy tomato-throwing festival, La Tomatina in Spain.
Those festivals and traditions give you a glimpse into the heart of European culture.
They do.
They showcase the diversity, the energy, sometimes just the sheer absurdity of human celebrations.
It's like this burst of color and energy.
Mhm.
A reminder that Europe is alive. It's not just about like museums and historical sites.
Right.
It's about people coming together to celebrate their heritage, their community, their unique way of life.
And that brings us to the economic side of things.
Okay.
We've talked about the EU, this big overarching structure.
Yeah.
But let's zoom in on some of the economies that make Europe what it is.
Okay.
Because just like its culture, Europe's economy is diverse.
It's like every country has its own specialty, right?
Yeah.
They're not all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They're using their strengths to contribute to something bigger.
Exactly. Let's start with Germany. It's often seen as the economic engine of Europe, known for its precision engineering, especially in the car industry.
Yeah.
Think brands like BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, yeah. Those German cars are legendary.
They are.
It's not just cars, though. They're leaders in manufacturing, technology, renewable energy.
Yeah.
It's like Germany is the one that keeps Europe running.
Then there's France. That brings something special to the mix. Known for fashion, wine, aerospace. It's about luxury, sophistication, a certain way of life.
France is like that effortlessly stylish friend
Yeah.
who always knows how to set the mood. And speaking of style, there's Italy,
Ah, Italy.
the masters of luxury goods, designer clothes, shoes, handbags, and the food and wine. I mean, come on, practically works of art.
They are. Italy is all about beauty, craftsmanship, enjoying the good things in life.
Yeah.
And of course, their tourism industry is huge. Rich history, beautiful landscapes, vibrant culture.
Yeah. And then there's the UK. Even though they left the EU, they're still a major player globally,
Absolutely.
known for their financial services, the entertainment industry, and top universities.
Yeah. They've got a long history of global connections.
Yeah.
They're still a center for innovation.
And don't forget Scandinavia. Those countries up north, constantly ranked among the happiest and most innovative in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Scandinavia. They're the cool kids.
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries with technology, design, and sustainability, and they've seemed to figure out the whole work-life balance thing, too.
They have. So you've got Germany, the reliable engine, France, the stylish trendsetter, Italy, the artistic connoisseur, the UK, the global connector, and Scandinavia, the innovative trailblazer. And that's just a taste of the economic diversity that Europe has to offer.
It's like a continent full of experts, all using their skills and knowledge on the global stage. But as we've seen throughout history, Europe has had its fair share of challenges.
That's true.
And the present, well, it's no exception.
It's not. While we've been focusing on the positive, we need to acknowledge the challenges Europe faces today.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the most pressing is economic disparity.
Yeah. Even with all the economic diversity, you still have those gaps between the wealthier countries in the West and the ones in the East. It's a reminder that even with a unified Europe, you've got these, economic divisions that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of immigration and refugees.
Right.
It's become a real flashpoint
It has.
for political debate and social tension in many European countries.
Absolutely. It's a complicated issue
What is?
with deep historical roots
Yeah,
and no simple answers.
for sure.
Europe's seen waves of migration throughout its history,
Right.
but this recent influx of migrants and refugees from the Middle East and Africa,
Yeah.
it's really put a strain on resources
Yeah.
and fueled anxieties about national identity and cultural change.
It's definitely a topic that's been all over the news,
It has.
shaping political discussions across Europe. And of
Yeah.
course, we can't talk about the challenges facing Europe without mentioning climate change.
Climate change.
It's a global issue, but Europe's already feeling the effects.
It is.
Rising sea levels, those crazy heat waves, and extreme weather events.
Climate change is a threat multiplier.
Yeah.
It makes those existing problems even worse.
Yeah.
And it creates new ones.
Yeah.
Europe's really at the forefront of trying to create a more sustainable future,
Okay.
investing heavily in renewable energy, implementing all these policies to try and reduce carbon emissions.
It's great to see that they're making an effort,
It is.
but it almost feels like a race against time.
It does.
And then you got political uncertainty.
Yeah.
With the rise of populism, the whole debate about the future of the EU and the effects of Brexit, it feels like Europe's at a crossroads.
There's definitely a feeling of unease,
Yeah.
a questioning of those long-held assumptions about European integration and the global order.
It's a time of, a lot of change,
Yeah.
shifting alliances, trying to figure out this complex and rapidly changing world.
Exactly.
So where does all of this leave us? I mean, we've explored a lot: geography, history, culture, the economy, and the challenges.
We have.
Europe's this dynamic, ever-changing place.
It is. It's constantly reinventing itself, balancing its rich history with the need to adapt to a world that's changing faster than ever.
Yeah.
The sources you've brought in, they give us a snapshot of Europe at this, crucial point,
Right.
facing all these challenges, but also opportunities.
It makes you wonder, what's next for Europe?
It does.
Will they be able to deal with these divisions and come out stronger?
Mhm.
Or will they, fall apart because of all the instability and fragmentation?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Is.
What does the future hold for Europe? It's a story that's still being written. And how it ends will have a big impact, not just on Europe, but on the world.
So for our listeners, what does this all mean? We've given you a lot to think about, just a glimpse into this complex thing that is Europe,
Right.
but it's really just a starting point.
We hope you come away from this deep dive with a sense of curiosity,
Yeah.
a desire to learn more, to explore the depths of this incredible continent.
Because Europe's more than just a spot on a map. It's a living, breathing place with a history, a culture, and a future that's still taking shape.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep engaging with the world.
The journey of discovery never really ends.
It doesn't.
And Europe, with all its complexities, offers a lifetime of exploration.
That's it for our deep dive into Europe. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Until next time, keep diving.